What a gift it is to be on stage with three amazing women. My good friend Donna, Karan, who I've known for at least 20 years. We've been through a lot together. Been talking about this stuff for a good 20 years. Actually, I met Donna de Cruz at one of your parties when I was still young enough to come to them before I get to bed by 9 o'clock. But we became friendly this year, actually. And then I just met Karolina this week. And I've heard about Karolina because she's working with a good friend of mine. So what we're going to talk about today is the idea that the ordinary actions we take on a daily basis have an extraordinary effect on our health. And we forget about that. You know, we have a culture that has made us so disconnected from nature, from our communities, from ourselves. We have a medical system or doctors or even a culture that believes health is going to come from a pill or from a bottle. And we forget that these simple things that we do daily are actually causing ill effects or good effects on our health, whether it's being kind to others, having gratitude, listening to music, or just having meaning in one's life. And after 30 odd years of practicing medicine, I see these aspects as probably more important than what drug you take, how much you exercise, and even what you're eating. So, you know, just a quick story before I start asking these lovely ladies some questions. In talking about meaning, I remember many years, not many years ago, a couple of years ago, I had a woman who worked on Wall Street. She was in her 40s, and she kept on coming in. She was tired. She was getting sick all the time. And we tried changing her diet, and we put on supplements, and we got her to meditate, we got her to sleep better, and she just wasn't getting better. And one day she came in, and I threw up my hands, and I said, you know, you're so unhappy at work, you need some meaning in your life. I was, excuse me, I was frustrated. So I didn't see her for a while, and I got an email a couple of months later, and she said, "Hi, Dr. Lipman, I'm in West Africa. I'm totally fine. I listened to what you said. I left my job. I went to work for a non-profit, and I'm really happy. I love what I do, and I'm totally fine. Thank you." And I see this all the time, and there's more and more research showing that when people have meaning in their lives, they live longer, they get better quicker from illnesses, and they don't get sick as often. So these are the little things that we forget that have huge effects on our health. So my first question is, and we'll start with you on the left, Karolina. You know, what in your life gives you meaning, or what's important, what do you feel passionate about, that you feel is
Well,
important?
first I'm going to say hi to everybody. Thank you so much for being here with us. I know it's a beautiful, warm day today, and I'm sure everybody, you know, wants to be at the beach, so we really appreciate you being here with us. And thank you, Donna, for doing the beautiful meditation. It's just so beautiful to start off the talk and just kind of bring everyone together and kind of ground us. And I'm so honored to be here with you guys. I've known Donna de Cruz for many years. Donna, I've worked with Donna for many, many years, since I'm maybe 16 years old, so I was a baby myself. And as Frank said, we met here in the Hamptons last week. You know, for me, I'm a mom now. Some of you might not know, I'm a mom of 2 boys. One is almost 9, one is almost 3. And for me, when I was in my 20s, of course, you know, my focus was always on like, okay, you know, I want to do things in life. I want to achieve this and this. I want to do it. I want to be the best that I can be. I want to make it, you know. I'm from the Czech Republic, and I moved to New York, and I felt like New York was a place where dreams come true, and everything is possible. If you have the talent and you're willing to work hard, you can make it. And then I became a mom at 24, and, you know, of course, all that really changed and kind of shifted. And even through my 20s, you know, I've been always very curious. My dad was an athlete, so from early on, I was a professional gymnast. I knew what it meant to take care of your body, eat well, exercise, discipline. if you wanted to have the energy and performance, what you put in, it's what you will get out. I've learned that very early on. I've meditated for a long time. I mean, I've meditated with Donna many times. You know, I love music and sound. That is so impactful and important to me too. So going back to becoming a parent, really, you know, my priorities are my kids. And it's kind of going back to my roots and my traditions and really teaching them, you know, what my parents taught me, the importance of very simple little things that you can do every day. But I've noticed how important, impactful it's on them. Like sitting down for dinner all together, putting the phone down, being in the moment together, discussing what happened in the day. What great happened, or maybe what made them sad, and play games, and really go around the table and have a beautiful meal and just be in the moment together. And I have almost 9-year-olds, so it's not about me feeling and connecting to him and understanding, wow, this is really special, but he tells me and my husband, who is here today, he tells us, oh, this makes me so happy. I love being all of us together and sharing this moment together. But then also music. We love music, so we play music around the house, and we do Freakazones dance. So where we just, you know, we dance like Freakazones. And it is so beautiful and fun, and the kids go crazy. They play the songs they want to play, and me and my husband do, like, you know, moves we would never do before, and we go for it, and they giggle, but the laughter, it's so beautiful, it's so joyful, it's so pure. It's like you can't buy anything, you can't take anything. There's nothing in the world, you know, that feeling that you experience at that moment, that time, where they're not being judged, where they're not being told this is good or bad, where they're just being free with their body, their mind. You know, so we really tried to expose them to a lot of things early on. We meditate, we dance, food, you know, sitting down together at bedtime and reading a book together, and discussing what happens in the book, and having that, you know, quality time together where we connect. And for me, that's my power, that's my strength, that's my drive. And I want that feeling at those moments. I want to make sure everyone experiences that, because at the end of the day, that's all we have. We have these memories our kids will always look back upon, and those are priceless.
Thank you. That was great. So laughing, dancing, all of the community sitting around a table, all healing. Miss Donna.
I love this man so much.
So, yeah, no, you're going to answer my questions.
But of course I'm going to.
Okay.
A little bit.
Maybe some of you know this, but Donna is an unbelievably spiritual woman who's very giving. There's a South African concept called Ubuntu. Ubuntu means what makes us human is the humanity we show each other. And I've just seen so much come out of you in terms of Ubuntu, with the work you do in Haiti, going to Africa, supporting Ubuntu. So can you, I mean, that's obviously important to you. Can you,
I think
talk a little bit about
Frank and
that?
I have this, I think we all have love-hate relationships, right? I mean, it's true, right? I mean, I love this man so much, and I love everybody here in the room, and God, I go back on so many years with so many of you in many different ways. But I think as I all sit around and look at every one of us, I guess as a designer, you're always in vision, looking at tomorrow. But a little backstory on that. My daughter, I'm so excited she's here, Gabby, and actually she's really my mother, I'm her daughter. You get to a certain age, they think they control you. We let them think that. Anyway, my daughter and her partner just opened this amazing restaurant, Tutto El Giorno, across the street, right? He said, Mommy, you have to do something. Mommy, you have to do, you have to have the clothes there. And I go, Gabby, it's the weekend. Why do I have to do this? She says, oh, Mommy, you know what you like to do. But what I really like to do, and I think, yes, people think I'm a designer, but I'm really not. I mean, I'm sort of a designer. My boss, Anne Klein, died while my daughter was being born. So I'm in the hospital giving birth to my daughter, which I'm so excited about. And my boss is in the other bed in another hospital dying of cancer. And I was 24 years old, and I get this call. And we're designing on the telephone how many buttons should the navy blue jacket have, you know? It was like 2, 4, 6. And they, of course, thought I was crazy. And they said, well, Donna, when are you coming back to work? I said, would you like to know whether I had a boy or a girl? I said, and I was 9 months, I was huge. I mean, huge. She was a 10-pounder, and she was late. So there I was giving birth to my daughter, and all of a sudden I got a phone call, is when are you coming back to work? I said, would you like to know whether I had a boy or a girl? By the way, I had a little girl, if you're interested. He said, well, that's all nice, but we have a collection too. I said, and Anne's in the hospital, Anne Klein, I was working for her at the time, and I was gonna be a stay-at-home mom. I did not want to work. No, my mother worked. I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. But why I'm telling you this story is because we're led. Each and every one of us is led. You know, we think we know it all, but we truly don't. We're guided. And the reason I'm sitting here with Frank is I've been guided to meet Frank. And Donna and I have known each other through Deepak, who gave me my first meditation. Karolina, you know, it's dressing and addressing. And I'm so glad we're addressing, not dressing right now. You know, the models get a little bit, you know what I mean. Anyway, so there's Gabby coming out, and they want me back at work. I said, well, I just had a 10-pound baby girl. And they said, well, you can come back to work. And I said to the doctor, when can I go back to work? She said, you just had a 10-pound baby girl, Donna. You have no idea what it's going to feel like. You all know women, right? Doesn't feel so good down there. Anyway, I said, don't worry about the stitches. I have a sewing room. They can take care of it. No problem. So he says, okay, you have to stay in bed you have to stay at home for 1 week. So he said, well, we'll come to you. They bring the entire company out to my house. And I have bagels, lox, figuring everybody's going to see my daughter Gabby. How brilliant is that, right? Unfortunately, I get a phone call, 9 o'clock in the morning, and Klein dies. And in those days, people did not discuss the word cancer. My father died when I was 3 years old. My mother died. My boss died. Every single one of us, this is not about me, this is about we. We're all going to go through this. There's not even an if, ben, but about it. The question is how. So I got very frustrated, and I brought us all together. Frank, of course, I called Frank up immediately. And I said, oh, by the way, I had the girl, and then, yes, I had to go back to work, and I had a collection the next day, and it was crazy, totally nuts. I couldn't believe they're not telling me my boss, who's like my mother, is dying. Nobody discussed it, because business was most important. So that kind of like hit me really hard. And I realized at that point that, and yeah, I came on, became a designer and all that stuff, and I stayed there. And then I wanted to open up my own company. I did Anne Klein, I did Anne Klein 2, I did Donna Karan, I did DKNY. It was never what I wanted to do. I wanted to find the calm in the chaos of the world we live in today. And we all know we live in chaos. We live in chaos past, present, future. The past is the wisdom. And you know, all of us, the cultures have our wisdom. You know it through Ubuntu. The wisdom of our culture is so beautiful. I just came back from Ethiopia. Unbelievable. It cost me more money than any trip I've ever done. I had no food, no anything. I lived in a tent. But just to be there was so amazing to be with these people. So preservation of culture is where our wisdom lies. So that's very, very important to me. That's the past. The present, healthcare. I don't know how many people are here right now, but every one of us is going to live with this. Nobody's getting away with it. We'll be born, we're all going to die. The question is how. Who's going to be by our side? Who's going to guide us? Who's going to take us through that journey? We all have the doctors and the nurses and all of that. But the reality is we need somebody to help us through this process. And that process is every day of my life. I mean, I get up in the morning, I'm a wasted mess. You know, you work, as you say, Frank. And yes, we have to have the breath work. We have to have the meditation. I've been doing yoga since I'm 18, weirdly enough. That's how the bodysuit started, for those of you who think I'm a designer. So I wear the bodysuit and, you know, wrap and tie a skirt, and that was it. But I was more interested in yoga. And what is yoga? We're all doing it right now. And thank you for guiding us through yoga. Yoga is being. It's just being seated, being in the moment, being present, being connected to one another, creating a community of yoga. So yoga is not putting your legs around your head, even though I can do it, I will admit, used to at least. Now it's Pilates, but that's another story. But it's a question of how do we create a community. You're doing it right here and right now. And every single one of us has to connect. Connect the dots, I call it. Past, present, future. The past is preservation of culture, the wisdom. The present is healthcare. Where's the care in healthcare? The future, education. If we had our meditation every single morning in the school, you know the kids are addicted right now to, you know what, as you know, the phones, the communication. It's complete addiction happening right now. How do we take that time to take a breath? How do we take that time to connect with one another? First you have to connect with yourself, then you connect with the next person. So what we started was the Urban Zen Integrative Therapist, and for all of you who live out here, we're at Southampton Hospital, and it's great, but I believe we need somebody to care for the patient. And my husband said to me before he passed away, Donna, whatever you do, take care of the nurses. That was what he asked me. And they're the ones who are doing so much work. And I'm not talking about just the end-of-life care or anything like that, but that person who's caring for you. And so many of us, men and women, we're working, we're constantly busy. Who's taking care of us? And I don't know a lot of you out there, but I have name forget really bad, right, Frank? But I remember his name because we know each other for so long. Other than that, it's really bad. But, and the word that, you know that doctor, that one over there, you know the one around the corner, the one who gives you the this, or the one who gives you the that. I don't remember any of them. You need help. But I'm working every day. I'm not gonna stop. You stop working, you stop doing what you love. It's not work, it's living. And that's what's most important, is giving to another person, helping another human being. So Urban Zen, or just as it is an Urban Zen integrative therapist. We have 800 people right now. We're in hospitals, we're in bedsides. We take care of the doctor, the nurse, the patient, and the loved one. Because the loved one, if you think about it, is sitting by that bed. And all of us have been loved ones in one shape or form. You know the doula, as you're giving birth, it's a doula. So the nurse is doing one thing, the doctor's doing another, but it's the doula who's taking care of you. So that's what I do. Did that make sense today?
Yeah. For a change, yeah.
I know he wants me to shut up. But anyway, I hope you all just find that understanding that we're not going to cure a disease. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But every single one of us is a patient. And every single one of us is a loved one. And we've got to look at the healthcare system and bring the care back to healthcare. And this is what this man does.
And every single one of us has more control over our health than you realize. And don't give your power away to the doctor. It's an important place for people like me, for doctors, but ultimately the power is you are your best doctor. So, Donna, South African blood.
Thank you, honey.
So we connect with the whole music thing. I mean, I'm a music freak too, as you guys are, and I love what you've done with your meditation and the music, and I've seen how important music is to you. So can you sort of expand on that whole idea of, you know, the meaning of music to you and how you bring it into your life? And
Well, there's so much to say. As Karolina and Donna and you, Frank, were talking, Donna, there's so much that you touched on, I think titillates a lot of, I think, our own inner dialogue about how we're serving ourselves, what are we doing for self, and it does begin with the self. The fact that, Frank, you haven't been for a dance for that long, we are going to change that maybe this weekend. We have to jump out of your birthday cake for you, Frank. But music, so I have a record label and I have worked in music for a very long time. I also DJ around the world, which just gives me the most amazing pleasure. And in the last 9 years, I've been serving at a place called Phoenix House and very heavily in the recovery space, because I started noticing that, to your point about addiction, we have a plethora, and in this country we recognize officially 113 addictions. Sex, gambling, shopping, I even think ignorance and hatred could go way up there on those lists. So, to say nothing of screen addictions. So, when I started working in that space, I DJ'd a party for Phoenix House, America's oldest alcohol and drug recovery center, out here in the Hamptons, and I said, so what are we doing around consciousness? And I asked them, what are we doing around breath? What are we doing around conscious eating? What are we doing around movement? What are we doing around meditation? And I got a lot of head shakes like, sorry, we don't know what you're even talking about. And they asked me if I just come on board, why don't you help us? So I realized that a person that is sitting at fundamentally a court-mandated facility cared very little about words that I knew as a person who'd come out of TM, which is my first great love, as a person that had come out of TM and out of the Vedic world and a child of India. I sat in front of them and I thought, you don't care about mantra, you don't care about anything about except that someone has come here, sees you and recognizes you and wants to offer something. So they understood the act of compassion. And so I designed a Dip into Bliss really around that. And fundamentally it was around music. I realized I could sit there and we could have a whole dance around what is consciousness and try and give an experience. But it was actually through music. I really asked the divine, how do you want me to do this? And her answer was very simply, do what you love. And that's what you titillated when you were speaking, Donna, and you too, Karolina. What do you love? Dharma versus drama. Dharma is that word in Sanskrit that says, get quiet enough to tune into the frequency, not of what everybody, including society or family, tries to coerce you toward, but tune into the frequency of what have you been sent here to do. And it takes enormous bravery to shut up, to sit quietly and tune into, what am I here to do? How am I here to serve, and to whom shall I serve? So the work I've done has really been born out of that, and she said, do what you love, and I said, you mean music? I'm supposed to use music? And as I studied it, I knew that this was actually a way, because music transcends ego, music transcends intellect. I don't have to understand a word of what's being said in the gypsy culture or the Ramanginning Aboriginals that I've worked with, or the Sufis that I've worked with, or the Ganawas. I knew and they knew that we had a vibration that we shared across the dance floor, or as a DJ. It didn't matter, that we actually just vibed each other. And music has the ability to go past those barriers, beyond time and space, beyond the ego. And when I came and sat, the hands and spirit just knew what to do. So I tuned into the frequency, and some of which you heard today has psychoacoustic, has binaural, has solfeggio frequencies, all of those things embedded, so that you don't have to worry about it, you just have to listen and receive. So that music combined with simple guidance is able to take people that I work with now, as it turns out, that guy and gal that's a hedge fund person, a model, a person who's a mom, the everyday addict who's going, what's going on? How do I figure my way through this? All of us are struggling, and I think the shift in consciousness today is really about being unabashed and beyond shame and saying, hey, I'm using drugs, I'm self-medicating, I'm being an asshole maybe when I shouldn't be. How do I start understanding what is compassion? And how do I start practicing that to myself? And getting quiet is part of it. So by using music, it's our first and last sense. The first thing that we're aware of, and the very last thing is this, as we leave this earthly plane, is sound. So there's great power and great intelligence in it. So by just using that in the Different Bliss and now with our sleep meditations, we're able, 1 in 3 of us have a sleep dysfunctionality. 1 in 3 of us are not accessing deep sleep. That means a huge percentage of our global population doesn't know the innate, pure, unparalleled joy of just letting go, of going into that beautiful cosmic realm where we heal, where we redeem, where we restore, and where we actually get to be completely liberated. So there's, it gives me enormous pleasure to be able to dabble in that and to design in that and create a culture and a community around that. And I think we're at a time and space now, and this is what I love about what you're doing too, Frank, as I'm learning more about the great elegance of what you do so beautifully, is that this is the time where we actually have to take the sort of seismic frequency of what's going on and turn it from a moment into a movement. Stop sitting on our hands, talk about healthcare and the beleaguered part of healthcare. Well, how do we want it to look differently? What can we actually do to make it, and stop calling it, alternative. It's not alternative healthcare, it's integrative healthcare. We have a right to use our dollars, to use our voice to say, we want this care. It is not alternative, it's got ancient wisdom, and it's got great data. We can show you the data points around meditation. That is, that can match healthcare and mental health, as we like to call it now in the West. But it's a whole new day. So sound is an amazing part of that. All of the senses are. Sound is my love child, and it's something that I think that we can really, really access with great power and have fun with it. To your point about your kids freaking out with Archie on the dance floor, you become innocent. You become free. You forget about your body. You don't care if your ass looks big or your shoulders look funny or your tummy sticking out. You just go and then have a dance. Children already know that. They're beyond the ego. So, having music on and just, having fun with it and being a family doing it, there's nothing better. And that's why things like Burning Man, I think, are emblematic of how people want to become a tribe. We have a great desire to want to dance together, to play together, to dress up together, to be liberated, to be kind, to be compassionate. These are not just ideas. This is actually a zeitgeist that we're all tapping into.
Thank you. Wow, I could say a lot of things about a lot of what you said. It was pretty amazing. Just, a couple of things. You mentioned sleep, and you're doing these sleep meditations. I mean, sleep is so underrated in our culture, and it's probably more important than your diet or exercise. We're realizing what goes on in sleep that we didn't have a clue about before. We have something called the glymphatic system. Has anyone ever heard of that? So we have a system in our brain that's basically a cleanup crew, and it only works when you sleep. So it cleans up all those proteins and those byproducts of chemicals that are made during the day, and only works at night. So it's as if you have a party at night and you don't clean up the mess, and the next morning there's this mess. You have another party. I don't come to your parties anymore. And the next morning there's this big mess, and if you don't keep cleaning up the mess, there's this huge mess in your living room. That's what's happening in your brain. And one of the things, I know this is a bit scary, but it's always good to always put a little bit of fear in there. One of the things that clears up at night is the amyloid protein, which is what is believed to cause Alzheimer's disease. So sleep, guys, is really important. It's not, Now, we have a culture where we think we only need to sleep 4 or 5 hours. Sleep is crucial to your health on every level.